where black people have to openly say that our lives matter.
Yeah.
How do you get to a point where you had to say that to a person? Like in a time that people say is some of the best racial harmony times ever. You know, we it's a story, and that story, as long as that story is is still uh, relevant and still continuing, you will always have people ready to protest that. And in the NFL, that is, I know some people were appalled at that, but I was actually proud because I thought that that component of the athlete had actually died. The person who was afraid, who wasn't afraid to take a stand and use their place in
Yeah,
life
absolutely.
as a as a place to promote their
I
ideas.
mean, the fact that they're willing to, they got to know that that could affect their career,
They absolutely
and
know.
they're willing to take that sacrifice and say, "I'm going to stand up for this because I think this is wrong." That is almost, to me, that's more patriotic than, that's them caring about for the people and the country. That's almost more patriotic than anything. They're willing to sacrifice. Listen, they're making millions of
Yeah,
dollars. You know,
they don't have to do it. They
they're
could just
sacrificed. They sacrifice their
yeah.
body, their health. You
They
know,
could just be you could just say, hey, let's get with the program.
yeah,
But they took time out to say that because it's that important, and it means that much to the community that these things would black people are sick of. I think living in a world that where and maybe maybe it just has to do with the country, because the world's a big place, but living in a country where you are you're playing the role of the villain. You're playing the role of um, you somehow you are out to do bad things to people or something. So many people live nothing like that, and it's just becoming, I think, too much to be tried to have people trying to force you into a role that is untrue. I mean, the people who here uh, didn't who didn't come out of, or the people here who've come out of slavery. Um, it was it was other people who began this situation here, and with their with that slavery, I think you that shows that this place kind of always needs like this stream of like free labor, which explains why we have these times now. Like you need those kinds of things because look at look.
I just saw that they lowered the when you're in jail, you make a certain amount of money for your labor. It's 4 cents an hour now.
Uh,
So, I mean, you-
they set their 401k up with that
I mean, like
4 cents an hour.
4 cents an hour. I mean, I understand you're in there for, but so some 18-year-old kid gets pulled over for having like whatever small amount of weed in his car, and now he goes to jail, and I mean, like that kid's, there's a possibility that kid's gonna be ruined for the rest of his life, and then he's going to be getting paid 4 cents an hour, and he's going to get out of jail, and then he's what kind of job is he going to get? Because now, he's got no shot.
That's the other part about jail that I think it's just lost on a lot of people. It's like when when you have a community of people and then jail is where a lot of people in that community end up. Jail breeds a certain type of person. Like I've had all kinds of friends that have been institutionalized people, and that culture makes its way through just the way, how things are enculturated into people in jail. You're in jail, you get used to a certain culture. When you get out, you bring elements of that culture with you, which affect other people on the outside and create sort of a little part of that on the outside. And I've seen that happen so many times that it's like jail, first and foremost, it's just an inhumane concept. Like, the fact that you would rip a person for away from their family for something like drugs or something. Like, people don't think about what that does to the whole of a family when you yank out somebody's dad or mom.
Well, I mean, the majority, the percentage of people in jail is far higher for men, and that takes that's a big effect on a person's family.
Yeah, it's a huge effect on they said, well, they should have thought about it. And it's like, well, we have to think about it. We have to understand that nobody wants to admit to the idea that criminality is a part of this place, and that's why we probably are the most incarcerated place on the face of the planet, because we were founded in criminality. We learned criminality. We worshipped criminality. We watched The Godfather, and we worship criminality here. It's a part of what we do, even on war crimes level.
Yeah,
we do stuff that are war crimes. We're like,
absolutely.
Oh, you see what we did? Don't mess with us.
Right.
It's like,
listen, we took Saddam Hussein, a sitting ruler of his country. We went to a different country, took him out of his country because we decided that he was no good, and executed him in our country. Imagine if Syria.
Yeah.
I can't even think of his name. The guy that runs Syria.
If anybody.
Yeah, anybody said, listen, yeah, you know what, Trump? We don't like what you're doing over there. We're just going to take you out of your country, and we're going to bring you over here. We're just going to execute you. Because you didn't under our guidelines, you created crimes that are unacceptable. Imagine what would happen.
It's like, that would be like the Russians being like, we installed Trump, so
yeah,
like, because I think that's why they felt like they could do that to Saddam, is because they had a part of his installation.
Yeah.
So they were like, hey, you didn't work out the way we thought you should.
Yeah.
So that'd be like the Russians being like, you know what, Trump, you're not doing the job that we thought. So we're gonna bring you over here, and because you did bad stuff in the world, we're gonna kill you right here in the middle of Moscow.
Yeah. It's like, imagine that. That's crazy.
It's an insane thing, but that's the insanity we live with. Why can they do that? Because they have the most power. They say, look, we can do this kind of stuff. Nobody else gets to do stuff like this.
Yeah, but we can.
Like when they try to tell people they can't have nuclear weapons, I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
How many we got?
How can you ever say that to a person? Like, how can they be like, but you have like all of those? You can't have any. It's little kid stuff. That's what it is. Yeah. It's little kid stuff. Grown people acting like children is how the world got the way that it is.
I say America is like the bully in elementary school. But the problem is everybody else on the playground has grown, and America is still trying to be the bully.
Yeah.
And the problem is the rest of the world's like, nah, I don't think so. We've grown up to be like CEOs of companies and intelligent people. And now we're back at like, we went back for the reunion, and you're still the bully from the playground in elementary school, and
it's still just kicking people in the shin.
Yeah, and hoping it works. It doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore.
Well, I think we live in a time where I think we have such an uncertain future.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who really believe that we're living in a time that is going to see like the end of the American supremacy in the world.
I think so too.
And I don't know if that's gonna happen, but either way, we have to learn a lesson from this.
Yeah.
Lesson number one that was learned here, or I hope people understood, can start to get it at some point in time, is if you start something on an act of genocide, it cannot end good. It just can't, because your foundation is violent, bloodshed, and things have a way of going out the way that they came in, and that's what I think people really fear. People fear war on American shores because we've never seen that. But for people, and life seems much realer to people who have gone through things like that, who had to really consider, like, man, they might drop bombs tonight.
Yeah.
To us or to them, we must look very childlike. Because they're like, you don't understand how real it can get, and we're like, no, we're gonna go to the Apple store tomorrow. Like we don't.
We're going to the market. It's cool. Nothing gonna happen.
Okay, and I think that is when I think about my children, I think about they may see very wild things in their lives.
Yeah,
like they may, but then again, I've seen wild things in my life. We all seem to.
And part of the whole problem is that we just let it go.
We're a conditioned creature. We're conditioned to. We're no better than Pavlov's dog. They know how to start and stop our impulses. So, they've connected us into something that was far too entertaining. It's far too entertaining. Like the entire internet. And television and all that, it's far too entertaining to just completely turn away from. And in it,
it's like the car crash. It's like the car crash. No, everybody can't turn away.
Nobody can turn.
Everybody's slowing down on the highway to see what happened.
Every morning when I wake up, I don't want to check the news feed, but then there's this impulse, and it's just like, well, you find out if something crazy happened. It's like I'm addicted to it just as much as anybody else. I heard a dude say what we are is we're people who are addicted to stimulation. And that seems to be the case here.
Well, I think what happens to people that are like, when it comes to stimulation, people that are like thinking in a different way, is like a more positive way, and like doing things, the stimulation's already there, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's less for them to like, I don't know, to kind of look at the news and be, like impacted by it. Yeah. You may look at it, but you're not impacted by it as much because you understand it and understand what's going on.
I was listening to the comedian Patrice O'Neill, and he had this bit about how he's like I want to. He said, but I just don't care. Like, I don't care when stuff gets shot up and things like that. Like, he's like, I want to, but it's like there's a thing in people where we have to turn our sensitivity off. We have to. You can't be too sensitive because the world would drive you nuts. Because if you were too sensitive to everything,
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you mess with it, and now you mess with it to turn it down a little bit. And in many people's cases, when they mess with it, they broke it. They just broke it, and now it's just like I don't feel anything about anything at all. And I think that's the beginnings. I think of people's like drug addictions and stuff. Like you end up trying to feel something to the point where you need an extreme stimulus in order to even feel anything at all.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, that boils everything down. When we talk about things like the protests and things like that, what it really takes is sensitivity. It takes It takes the ability to see somebody else's situation and to give it some sort of credence and some sort of consideration to say, hey, I know for some people, it must be strange for people who don't live inside of black people to completely understand what's going on. But it all it takes is compassion in order to listen to a man's story and say, hey, there might be truth to that.
Yeah.
I always looked at it like, if my brother came to me, if my brother came to me and he told me, he said, hey, somebody just like punched me in the face, I would be inclined to believe him. But in this case, here, as being as black people, trying to talk to our family members of differing colors, it was saying, hey, we're going through a particular situation here, and there's a lot of people who want to say, no, you're not. You're not. You're this is all imagined and things like that. And I'm not even here to say that some of it's not imagined. I'm saying that there's a psychology that was built inside of existing as a particular role. And whether I think a lot of it is very valid and very true, but sometimes you do fall into craziness. Like, sometimes you do fall into the craziness of somebody slighting you in a particular way, and you saying, well, was that person racist, like, right there? Like, you ask the question,
yeah,
and you never get an answer, and it's like, is that the reason? So it's a mind game on both sides of the things that are real and the things that are imagined. Like, it's a way of life. And it's not really, like I said, I think all people go through that to certain extents. We all play the roles that we play. But when a person comes to you and says, hey, I'm pretty sure that this is happening in my life, it takes an extreme amount of a lack of compassion in order to tell that person that they're completely, like...
Well, their opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't... You're not able... The part that infuriates me, I think, the most is that somebody acts like I'm not capable of being cognizant of what's happening to me in my life.
You're less than them.
Yeah.
You're not...
You can't think that far, so to speak. And it's like, no, like, I've been ever since I became cognizant of the idea that there were people in this world who cared about the color of my skin, my entire life has been an investigation of that concept in various ways, because it's just like, what do you mean? Like, you don't even know me. Like, how do you get to say you don't know me, or how do you get to say you don't like me and you don't know me?
Yeah.
I think that's at the foundation of all of it. So it's like, understanding, I think, is what's key. It's being able to find the commonality with another person. That's the only way that we make things better.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we end there.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate
coming
it.
back and doing your thing. So